Hey guys, Big Daddy Liberty here, coming to you from just outside Parliament here on Plain Street in Cape Town. And pretty sure you can tell from the people walking past me, the thousands of women who are perhaps here outside Parliament, that this is the Women's March. This is the Women's March against what has been a very high level of gender-based violence in this country. Now, again, we are used to seeing marches, we're used to seeing protests, we're used to seeing this sort of activism. But the question, I think, on my mind, and perhaps on the minds of thousands, millions more people, is what exactly is going to be done about it? Are we going to keep marching? Are we going to keep, with the fancy slogans? Or will we begin to see the real sort of action that's required to address the issues of violence in this country? Now, as you can see, the ladies are pretty excited, but the reason why they're here is actually still a serious one. So I'm going to be talking to the ladies at the march, and the question I'm going to be posing is, what do we do? How do we fix this issue? Do we continue with the rhetoric of, let's teach men not to rape, or let's teach men not to abuse? Or do we actually begin to empower women in this country with real means to actually have them dish out consequences to those men who continue to want to abuse, to rape, and to attack women? And you guys know my position on this. I'm a firm believer in arming women, actually beginning to arm and train women in this country to be able to be defenders, to be their own self-defenders, and not rely on government and the politicians, and not rely on telling men not to rape them. Instead, I want to see real consequences for those evil men who continue to abuse, who continue to rape, and who continue to violate the liberty and the lives of women in this country. So we're going to have that conversation here. I'm going to talk to the women who are at here. It's getting a little windy and I can feel my kippa picking up. But welcome to the Big Liberty Show. Let's get the conversation going. The ladies are coming through. I'm going to try and stop some. Hopefully they'll talk. Hey guys, you're on the Big Liberty Show. Just 30 seconds of your time, if you don't mind. There has been a monumental failure of government, a monumental failure of our politicians in this country to protect women. And instead of real action from them, we've seen the usual rhetoric. I mean, for example, the president has been MIA on this particular issue. And you're raising something which is very important. Women in this country are not being protected by the law. Talk to me about your own experience very briefly, and you don't really have to go into details, but do you feel like government has been, and again, when I say government, let me be specific, do you think that the judiciary, the police, and the supportive system have actually helped you as an individual who's gone through something to get justice?
My situation is that I went to the police station, did a case. They even took me to a hospital to get all the evidence. Yeah. Unfortunately, there was not enough evidence on it because I had taken off the clothes. I didn't take a bath. I had taken off the clothes. They were all dried out. Yes. It went even as far as me going to see someone in the High Court, but it was not complete. I don't know where it ended up, but yes. I was going through a lot. I even went to pay so much bills for psychological help and everything because I was going through the most. Yes. But now when it comes to the government and the president going AWOL, we need to have things in the constitution that really protects women against any kind of abuse, even men, but now we are suffering the most as women. Men, if you are as well, come out. It's about time, guys.
Maybe as a final question, let me put something to you. One of the things I've been talking a lot on my show is I really hate this weird notion that comes out of these sort of marches sometimes, that women must beg men to stop them, to stop raping them or abusing them or attacking them, or somehow that we need to do a societal education of men, when there are actually there's real consequences right now. There's real violence being meted out against women right now. What would you think about if I were to propose that one of the things we can do, in addition, of course, to dealing with men in societally, but one of the things we should be doing is empowering women themselves. Women, in my view, should become their own self-defenders. We can't rely on the state. That's clearly become patently clear. What do you think about the idea of those who want to, being trained and being armed to be able to defend their life and their liberty? Armed citizenry of women who are able to mete out consequences to any man who wants to rape or attack them on the spot. What do you think about that? Is that one way in which we can begin to empower women in this country?
It can be a way, but very dangerous at the same time because we don't want to open a can of worms. Why I'm saying this, women can also be violent. And women can also be rapists. So now you're going to arm us, as angry as we are. You see how angry I am? A woman has murdered my cousin. We don't know why. It has nothing to do with rape. But then you want to arm a woman. Do you know what a woman's anger can do because of so much that we've been through for not being protected? What I've just spoken about my cousin, the woman was at fault, definitely, but then Can you imagine like arming a woman, an angry woman? We've got so many reasons to be angry because we've not been protected. So we don't want to inflict that on other men that are innocent. So, it's example, when we say men are trash, we're not saying that all men are trash, but you know who you are when we say you're trash. You're the man that's been the perpetrator, the one that's made us suffer as women.
But shouldn't those men who actually are damn trash, and by the way, I'm in support of singling out those men who are evil, who are out to abuse, who don't believe in the liberty and the integrity of another woman, shouldn't those men be able to face real consequences? In other words, if a man decides to abuse, to rape, to attack a woman, there should be the real prospect in that man's mind that, hey, I might be shot by this woman who is able to defend themselves.
Of course, yes. That should be in a man's mind, that should I even touch a woman without her will?
You might get
even
your
the
balls blown
comments I make to a woman, like even guys, it starts from that little bit of sitting by the street corner, which is normal in South Africa. Sitting by the street corner, a woman is walking past and you're like, hey sexy, those little things.
Okay, not that you'll shoot a man for that, but essentially it begins to get the culture right, that you don't treat women like pigs.
It starts there. Like, you cannot say because I'm wearing something short, like, go get dressed, whatever. It starts there with those little things. It builds up. And thank you for all the men that are also supporting us. Very important.
All right, man, enjoy. Again, I'm going to put it to women quite openly and bluntly. Should we not be having a conversation about empowering women to be their own self-defenders and not relying on men? I'm a big proponent of actually saying we live in a violent society. I get this, but one of the things we can and should be doing right now is beginning to actually empower women to be their own self-defenders. I'm a big fan of training women, of those who want to, by the way, training women and arming women so that if any man decides to attack or molest you, there are real consequences he can face on the spot. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a good idea. I've got 3 daughters,
Yeah.
and right now I've actually put them in karate so they can defend themselves. So I'm afraid because I've got a teenager and I've got 2 small ones as well. So it's too much. Cape Town is getting too much.
Absolutely. Ladies, your thoughts? Should we be seeing more of an emphasis on empowering the woman to stand her ground and say, you touch me and you might have your balls or even your face blown off?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea actually. I think because if we're not going to protect ourselves, then who are?
That's right.
And especially for those, even not if we have daughters and sons, we need to equip them as well of how to not to treat women. And we have to equip our daughters. It's very scary, the world that we're living in.
Absolutely.
As mothers, it's very scary.
Ladies, I'm sorry to have plucked you out like this. I really wanted to have this conversation. I'll be talking to more women here about this sort of issue. It's time we change the narrative and we have women be their strongest voices. Guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the day. Keep well. There you have it again. We're having this conversation and it's a different conversation, I think. One where we're not asking women to beg for their safety. Women must be at the forefront of defending their life, their liberty and their property. We want to keep that conversation going. I'm seeing another group over here. If the camera can just follow me. I don't know if they want to say something. Hey guys, just a quick word, 30 seconds? No? All right, thanks guys. I believe we should be empowering the women to actually be able to begin to stand their ground and say, you touch me, you abuse me, you rape me, there will be real consequences for you in that moment. And for example, one intervention, and I'll put it to you ladies, is that we shouldn't be afraid of actually having the conversation of training women, of those who want to, and arming some women of those who want to, so there can be real consequences for those evil men who rape, who abuse, and who target women. What are your thoughts around this? Can I just get 2 or 3 opinions, ma'am?
Sure. Can I have my breath back? This is a very personal cause for myself.
Yeah.
Being a woman.
Sorry, sir. Can you just step out of my shot if you don't mind?
A very personal cause to myself since I was a woman that was abused. So I feel that all women in this country must have a voice.
Absolutely.
They must stand up. They must talk. They mustn't be scared. Because you're not alone.
Absolutely.
We are all there and we're in this together.
And the voices, as you can hear, are very loud. But I'm beginning to say we need to move beyond this and have real action and consequences for those men who continue to do this, ma'am.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. And you know, a real conversation is needed in this country about allowing women, empowering women, not allowing them, empowering women to stand their ground. And if there is some man who wants to attack, rape, or abuse them, for a woman to actually be able to say, listen, I can mete out consequences and defend my rights on the spot. Training and arming women of those who want to. Your thoughts?
Okay, I fully agree with you. I'm a granddaddy.
Yeah.
How must I feel also?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, we as men, I mean real men, we're going to take the law in our own hands.
Yes.
That is going to be stopped.
Just as a final question, I think you're right by personalizing this, because we sometimes forget in the conversation that, those of us men who are not the rapists, who are not the abusers, who are not the molesters, etc., have women that we care about in our lives. And the thought of your sister, your daughter, your granddaughter facing that sort of evil guy who exists out there scares me. Should we not be having a conversation around, instead of begging men to stop abusing, empowering our sisters, empowering our mothers, empowering our women to be their greatest self-defenders?
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. But my main thing is the law.
Yes, absolutely. It also
we have
plays
to
a
do
role.
that is the main thing.
Absolutely.
Because tomorrow or next week they're out of jail already.
Yes.
You don't give such people bail even. Don't give them bail.
Yeah.
And that is my concern. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for your time. Again, you're hearing this conversation, and maybe it's taking me coaxing it to an extent to shift people's way of thinking around this. This idea of begging men to stop raping women, I'm not a fan of that. But let's have that conversation with the actual women who are here. Hi, ma'am. 30 seconds of your time. My name is Big Daddy Liberty. You're on the Big Liberty Show. Ma'am, I'm having a conversation with women who are streaming in here, and I'm saying we've been having the marches, we've been begging government to do something, but clearly something's not giving. Here's my suggestion. Instead of men telling women that we must, or women must beg men not to rape them or beg men not to attack them, why don't we actually start empowering women for them to be their own self-defenders? And one suggestion, for example, is of those women who want to, arming them and training them for them to be able to actually say, you raped me, you touched me, you abused me, there are consequences for you on the spot. Your thoughts on that?
So true. I personally say that yes, I've heard yesterday about a conversation where one of our ladies was speaking in our pause area, and she was suggesting that she heard yesterday that there's somewhere here, I think it's in Rowland Street, where there's this company that is actually offering for free. Yes. It was normally you have to pay for if you want to have like you want to go for karate lessons or things like that. But they are actually giving it free for people, the lessons free for the people, and they're inviting any woman to come there, but you have to just give your name in and then they will take care of you.
And that's definitely part of it, isn't it? It's the idea of actually empowering the women for them to stand their ground. That's actually what I'm advocating for here. Women shouldn't be cowering away and asking men not to rape them. A woman should be able to stand their ground and say, listen, I'm a human being, damn it. I've got rights, I'm a person, and if you harm me, I will mete out consequences.
Definitely. And you know what, I was standing up there at the parliament and I was standing with tears in my eyes thinking, I am so amazed with all the women that actually came out and everybody that is actually standing together, even the men. I truly and I salute each and every man that is here. I take my hat off for them.
Again, you hear it. She cuts my shot. Hi. My kippa is going all over the show here. Women should be able to stand their ground and say enough. And of those men out there who do want to do the raping, the attacking, the abusing of women, you should be able to face, or rather you should be facing consequences for your actions. I've been advocating here all morning that part of the conversation we need to have in this country is not to tell women to beg men to stop abusing them, to beg men not to rape them, but actually saying empower the woman for them to be able to stand their ground and say, you touch me and there'll be consequences your way. One way in which we do that is self-defense classes, I've been saying, or training of those who want to, training and arming those women who want to, so that they become their own self-defenders. Your thoughts?
Yeah. One way, the first way and the most important way to empower a woman is through laws that really protect them. Absolutely. I believe it should be death penalty for murder, but also for rape. I think a clear message must be sent by the government, by our South African government. We don't tolerate violence against women and children. Any violence against women and children in terms of rape and murder must be punishable by death. And then,
Look, in fairness, just to maybe slightly disagree, I'm not a big proponent of the death penalty because our legal system isn't the most accurate or the best. And right now, I mean, we have laws right now, but they're just not being damn well enforced. So that what you need, perhaps, as a real step, is empowering the women themselves for them to actually say, listen, touch me, and there's justice coming, swift justice coming your way.
So then they must relax also. I agree with you to disagree. But then there was also laws to relax laws on self-defense, especially on housebreak and stuff like that. They need to relax the laws on self. In other words, like they have in the States, if you come into my property and you don't belong there, I have the right to use extreme force against you.
To defend your life, liberty, and property?
Without me being prosecuted by the law afterwards and stuff like that.
Having a different conversation, one which begins to say women are not here to beg for their lives, they're not here to beg for their safety. We should be empowering women for them to be able to stand their ground. We'll keep that conversation going and get more people and more views. You're watching The Big Liberty Show. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say I'm a fan of your work. I don't always agree with you, but I appreciate the way you stand by your values.
I really appreciate that.
Principles and shit. I think it's really inspiring to see someone stick by their values.
Thank you, brother. I want to put this to you guys, and you're welcome to disagree or agree. One of the proposals, and it's not the only one, it's not a panacea, is empowering women to be trained, and those women who want to be armed. Armed woman who is able to stand her ground and say, touch me, see what happens. What are your thoughts, guys?
It's a bit reckless because if a man overpowers the woman, they could have the gun. So then we're just handing out more guns to more people and it's just spreading more violence.
This is the training bit that I talk about. A trained and proficient gun user knows, for example, how to earn her draw in this particular case in order to defend herself. You know, again, I'm not saying it's a panacea. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Training, it is a viable option for women to protect themselves, definitely.
Sir, again, this idea of we need to tell men not to harm women. Oh, correction. Let's empower the woman to be able to say, I can stand my ground and defend myself, even if I'm armed, or preferably being armed to do so. Your thoughts?
I think every girl, every woman in South Africa, we need to protect our women, but to also just stand up for themselves. So I think self-defense classes from a small age. Understand? I think like every parent's duty to make sure that they protect the kids by sending them to self-defense classes. Understand? And empowering your kids and telling your kids and showing your kids. It's important to not hide anything from your child.
Final thing I want to put to you guys, because a lot of people then say, oh, Big Daddy, there you go again, being a gun nut, etc., etc. I'm like, well, it's not about the guns per se. It's about the culture you build around and the values you inculcate. For example, growing up, we had the Boy Scouts. Why? And we were learning values and certain cultural things around that. You could have a Girl Scout, for example, that does the same thing. Empowers the women. An element of it can be like self-defense in terms of hand to hand. Another element of it is just teaching a woman how to handle a gun. And the choice is still hers as to whether she wants to be an armed citizen or not.
Absolutely. As long as it's the woman's choice and as long as she has training so she doesn't hurt anybody else and that it's locked away and stays away from children, then I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Alternatively, you can go and do Krav Maga or Taekwondo or karate or women's defense classes or anything.
Hopefully we'll start seeing more headlines like rapists shot to shit as opposed to women being killed in this country. I'm really trying to introduce a different narrative into these. Personally, I'm sick and tired of the conversation where we're telling women that they need to be the ones who tell men not to rape them or not to harm them. For me, that is a very dangerous, slippery slope. Instead, what I would like to see, and I want your view on this, I would like to see us have a conversation on how do we empower women to be their own self-defenders also. Those women... Well, there you go.
Make this a stand!
And
how do we do this?
All right, don't worry, you're talking to me here.
Yes.
And I want to hear from you guys.
I want everyone to contribute to this because
Absolutely.
it's not just us, it's not our story. It's everyone's story.
It's every woman in the world.
It's all the women. It's not just in Cape Town. It's not just in South Africa. It's every fucking world. It's everywhere.
All right, talk to me then, and this is the conversation I think we should be having, the how. Who do we talk to and what action do we take from here on forth? We've had 25 years in this country of marches and these sort of conversations, but government's not listening because still the state is inefficient when it comes to protecting women, and we're still having this conversation that victimizes women and continuously victimizes them. So what do we do at this stage? Who listens? And really, what do we do as the citizens?
You need to remember that you can empower yourself, but if you're not empowering your daughter, your cousin, your sister, or your mother, you're not making a difference.
Yes.
While you may be I'm an empowered woman, if I don't empower my little sisters, then I'm not making a difference.
Definitely.
Then they're still going to be unempowered, and then they're not going to learn. If I empower them, then they'll be able to empower their children.
Yeah. Final thoughts, and I want to put something to you. What do you think about this as one intervention? One of the things we can and should be doing is of those women who want to, of those women who opt to, we should be able to provide training and proficiency in the use of a firearm and arming those women who choose to say, I want to stand my ground and mete out consequences to any man who tries to rape me on the spot. What do you think about that?
We need to have classes, free classes for anyone, for any woman, any age that can walk in and learn the lessons to empower themselves. Because if you don't know how to stand up for yourself, then I mean,
Your own person.
Yeah.
Who's going to do it for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to learn to stand up for yourself, and it's difficult. It's hard, and it's a long road. It's a long journey. But if you have all your women, even if you don't know them, all the women behind me, if they're supporting you, which they are, as you can see, they're supporting you, you'll be fine.
Thank you guys for your time. Thank you so much. And thank you guys. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. Fantastic. And there you have it. Again, it's about, on the one hand, getting people's voices out, but also talking the language of action. What do we do about empowering our women in this country? Now, big crowd around me. I'm going to let it walk past me. You're watching The Big Liberty Show. All right, you can support your favorite fat boy, Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, by becoming a friend of the IRR. How do you do that, you're wondering? Well, you can SMS your name to 32823. That's testing my patience. I know that's what they're doing now. All right, goodbye, guys. Goodbye. I love you guys. It is getting very loud, it's getting rowdy. So I'm gonna end this one over here and say, guys, you can support my work, you can support what I do by becoming a friend of the IRR. How do you do that? You can SMS your name to 32823. Terms and conditions apply. An SMS will cost you R1. And remember, it is those funds, it is that 90 Rand that you devote to my work that gets me out and about in the field, bringing you the content that I know you guys like. So on that note, remember you can also find us online, www.irr.org.za/join, and you can sign up a monthly debit order of 90 Rand a month there. Guys, thank you so much for watching The Big Liberty Show. Remember, never trust a commie.